Hey guys, good evening. Good evening. How is everyone doing today? All right. Sorry, I gotta adjust my light here. There's a lot going on just now. You can see almost through my forehead. All right. Hello, hello. Got some new faces this evening. Hello, everyone. Yes, I have some familiar faces. Hey. All right. All right, everyone. Welcome to Health Tea with Dr. B, the NP. How are you guys doing tonight? It is November. November. Are you guys familiar with that? It is November. What do you what are your thoughts about that? It is November. So soon. So soon. I wasn't even ready. I'm going to be honest, I was not ready at all. But we are on episode 8 this week. Okay? November. Again, November. November, the month of gratitude. I always take this time to reflect on how this year has went and what I could do that would inspire myself and others for the remainder of the year. So this is usually a reflection period for me. So what are you all thankful for? Um, I know I am thankful to actually be able to do this podcast. I am happy to be able to help to improve lives, save lives. That is my absolute dream. I absolutely love it. And again, I want to thank everybody who has been on this journey with me. So last week on Health Tea with Dr. BBNP, we discussed eczema. So October was National Eczema Awareness Month. Um, it was great to bring awareness to this most common skin condition because a lot of us are diagnosed with it, but we are truly unsure about it. We know about the flare ups, but that's about it. We really don't speak about what could be done, what has been done, things of that nature. So, just a health tea tip from last week. Remember, coconut oil is a good start to keep the symptoms at bay. Coconut oil, why do I say that? Because we can cook with it. We can put it in our hair. We can put it in our skin. It's like a multi-purpose. So I'm telling you, let's stick with the coconut oil. Okay, so let's do that. All right, so now let's get into the updates. So starting this month, Health Tea with Dr. B, the NP, will be airing 3 Wednesdays per month because I'll be hosting an in-person event at least once per month, and I am super excited. So on November 18th, I'll be hosting Health Brunch with Dr. B. Invitations will be going out very soon. There, we will be discussing all hot topics regarding health, and I don't mean boring topics because I'm not a boring person at all. Okay, we'll be discussing health and eating and just having fun, and I hope to see a lot of you there. Okay. Also, if you would like to be a guest on the show, um, to share your experiences or even ask questions, please don't be shy. Ask me questions. Send me a message directly on Instagram or Facebook, or send me a message at bit.ly/health tea with Dr. B. All right. So don't be shy at all. Just let me know what you guys want to hear, what you guys want to know, and then just let me know if you want to be a part of the show. All right. And remember, if you are in Maryland, Washington, D.C., Colorado, New Mexico, or Washington State and you're seeking treatment, the link is in my bio. If you are not in one of those states, feel free to reach out to me and I can link you to other specialists who are. Now let's move on to episode 8, Sugar and Spice, Managing Insulin Resistance in Everyday Life. Doesn't that sound poetic? I know, right? And as usual, I have some hot tea for y'all tonight. So now you guys know I introduce a tea every week that is usually connected to our topic of the week, and they're usually loaded with benefits. All right, so this week's tea is black tea. Black tea is actually one of the most widely consumed teas in the world, and it's known for its bold flavor and numerous health benefits. And research actually shows that it might have a positive impact on insulin resistance. Okay, so that is why this is going to be the tea for the week. And so you guys know that I definitely try to taste test it with you guys. So let's see here. It is a bit hot. I did just get it out the pot here. So not bad. I mean, I think we've all had black tea before. Even when you go to get sweet tea, we've all had black tea before. So there is no issue with that. I don't have any sugar or anything. I actually drink a lot of my teas plain, unsweetened, because I don't want to sully its benefits. But let's get into the benefits of black tea. So, improved insulin sensitivity. So, polyphenols are in black tea. It is rich in polyphenols, which have been shown to improve insulin sensitivity. This means that the body cells are better able to respond to insulin and helping to regulate blood sugar levels more effectively. So that's number one. That's a great thing. That is a great thing. Antioxidant properties. So reducing oxidative stress. The antioxidants in the black tea can help to reduce oxidative stress in the body, which is important as oxidative stress has been linked to the development of insulin resistance. So come on, let's keep drinking that tea. Now, anti-inflammatory effects. Anti-inflammatory is my favorite word because we need to reduce inflammation. Chronic inflammation is associated with insulin resistance. So the polyphenols that are in the black tea have anti-inflammatory properties, which actually might help to reduce inflammation and improve insulin function. Okay, so my favorite ones already: anti-inflammatory and improving insulin sensitivity. Here is one that you guys may want to also check out. It's potential weight management benefits. So it aids in weight control. Some studies have suggested that regular consumption of black tea might be associated with lower risk of obesity, and managing body weight is a key factor in preventing and managing insulin resistance. And lastly, improving glucose metabolism. So certain compounds in black tea have been shown to enhance the uptake of glucose by cells, helping to lower blood sugar levels. So again, this tea is absolutely amazing when it comes to insulin resistance. And again, like I said, I always bring you guys the tea that correlates with the message for the week. You guys got that? All right, now let's get on to episode 8. And now let's sip, listen, and thrive. Now, welcome to November. November is National Diabetes Awareness Month. So it is a crucial time to shed light on the ever-growing prevalence of diabetes. Diabetes affects millions worldwide. In the United States alone, over 34 million individuals are living with diabetes, and a staggering 88 million adults have prediabetes, a condition where blood sugar levels are higher than normal, but not high enough yet to be diagnosed as type 2 diabetes. So this is where I draw the line. This is where my tea comes in, because I do not believe in prediabetes. It's either you are or you're not. It's either you have diabetes or you don't. So that 88 million people have diabetes. Well, plus the 34 million. Not 88 million have prediabetes. It's either you are or you're not. Why? Because this is a condition that's abnormal. Okay? And we're going to start discussing all of the different things about insulin resistance that's just going to blow your mind. Okay? So let's talk about insulin resistance. What is insulin resistance, and do you have it? We are talking about insulin, the hormone. We're not talking about insulin, the medication. Okay? So when I tell you guys about insulin resistance, it is not related to a medication at all. So how could you find out if you have insulin resistance? What do you need to know? Well, a fasting insulin level is an amazing number to know. And I'm 1,000% sure that at least 95% of you have never had this test drawn before. So why? Because that's not in mainstream practice. Okay. So if you go to your doctor and you ask them to draw an insulin level, they may say no, but it's okay because you can order your own labs through Ulta or walk-in labs. Okay. So many providers do not order this test at all. So you must advocate for it for yourself and take matters into your own hands and just order it yourself. Sometimes it could Costs about $9, $11 cash. Okay. So why are we even discussing insulin and insulin resistance? Well, high insulin levels drive the majority of our chronic metabolic dysfunctions. So at least 90% of Americans have insulin resistance, or they have diabetes, PCOS, again, that dreaded word prediabetes, or fatty liver disease. That is a lot. And I mean fatty liver disease that has been confirmed through imaging. That is a lot. Okay. And a lot of people are unaware that they even have these conditions. Sometimes people don't find out until they're sick already, or until they need to have an organ removed, or if they have to go to a hospital for some sort of emergency situation. So let's discuss. Let's get really down into the nitty gritty of insulin resistance. What exactly is insulin resistance? Well, it is a condition in which the body cells becomes less responsive to the hormone insulin. Insulin, we all know, is produced by pancreas, and it plays a crucial role in regulating our blood sugar levels. It helps to transport glucose, also known as sugar, from the bloodstream into the cells where it can be used for energy. Okay? In cases of insulin resistance, the cells start resisting the effects of insulin. It just stops it. As a result, the body needs more insulin to help glucose enter the cells. So the pancreas tries to keep up by producing more insulin because now it's going at a fast rate, right? And over time, though, it can't make enough to maintain normal blood sugar levels, leading to elevated blood sugars. Okay, so I just spoke a lot of foreign language there. What does that exactly mean? Well, let's think about it this way. When we consume carbs, our carbs break down into fructose and glucose. And today, let's discuss glucose. Glucose is in the bloodstream and it triggers different responses because glucose does not belong in the bloodstream. Sugar does not belong in the blood. So when there are high amounts of glucose just circulating your blood, it becomes unhealthy and it triggers a myriad of unhealthy responses. So the glucose in the bloodstream triggers the pancreatic action. Now I'm going to get scientific with you guys. The pancreas produces the insulin. The beta cells in the pancreas produces the insulin and responds to the glucose in the bloodstream. So remember, insulin's job is to remove glucose from the bloodstream. Why? Because glucose doesn't belong in the blood and glucose is inflammatory. Okay? It is inflammatory. So if your blood glucose, also known as your sugar, if it is high, then that means your carbohydrate intake is high. So what are carbs, right? We have our rices, our pastas, our chips, our cookies, our pies. Do vegetables have carbs? Yes. But our colorful carbs are usually the carbs that we're supposed to stick towards. But my pasta lovers, my carboholics, this is what you need to be listening to. So the real tea is, how is your insulin? Are you a carboholic? If so, you really need to get your fasting insulin checked. What does that mean? It means that you should not eat at least 8 hours before your test, because now we need to remove all the fuel. Don't feed your body any fuel, which is the food, because now we need to get a good number. Okay. So what is your fasting insulin? Ask your provider to order it. Remember, I'm here. You can always set up a consultation with me. Go to bit.ly/health tea with Dr. B. Set up a consult. We can definitely talk about it. Or you can go to our website, www.truephoenix.org, and go to Ulta Labs or go to Walk-in Labs, and you can order your own insulin. I know for my patients, I always order this lab for all of my patients. I don't care who walks through the door, you're going to get an insulin level done. And this is not to be confused for a glucose level in a BMP or a CMP on a lab. It's not to be confused because glucose is not insulin. Okay. So if you're getting your blood drawn in an outside lab, let's say LabCorp request, make sure to bring your lab requisition with you so that the insulin level is not forgotten, because a lot of people get the insulin level and the glucose level mixed up, and usually it's never ordered even though we write the order for it. Okay? So your fasting insulin level will tell you how much work you need to do. It will hold you accountable. So these numbers that we're going to speak about in the next few moments, it's going to be crucial, it's going to be important, but don't fret, because when I give you the problem, I'm always going to follow it with the T, which is the solution. So what should we be looking for? Or what should you be looking for? Because again, I am teaching you how to read your own blood work. Okay? So an optimal insulin level is usually around 4 or 5. Okay? Fasting insulin levels, usually less than 7 is good. Okay? If it is greater than 7, you have a mild case of insulin resistance. There's going to be some insulin resistance there. Okay? All right. And so when we're looking at our insulin levels, I want you to check your old labs. I want you to I want you to see exactly for yourself what your insulin levels look like. Okay? It's going to be super important. All right? So here are some other levels that will also help you to confirm insulin resistance. So when you're looking at your labs, look at your triglycerides. It's usually in your lipid panel. If that number is higher than 100, most likely you have insulin resistance. If your abdominal girth, and that is the measurement around your stomach, for a woman, if it's greater than 35, for a man, if it's greater than 40, you most likely have insulin resistance. If you have been diagnosed with fatty liver disease based on imaging and not blood work, because remember a few weeks ago we discussed this, you cannot diagnose fatty liver disease through blood work. It has to be through imaging, such as a CAT scan, ultrasound. Okay, but most likely you have insulin resistance. If you have been diagnosed with PCOS, that dreaded word, prediabetes, or type 2 diabetes, then most likely you have insulin resistance. Okay? If you have been diagnosed with high blood pressure or hypertension, you probably have insulin resistance. So these are based on studies from Dr. Fung, Dr. Westman. They believe that high blood pressure is the earliest indicator of insulin resistance and metabolic dysfunction. So the question is your high blood pressure related to insulin resistance? Well, you will only know if you get your lab levels checked, right? All right. So here is some more tea. You know, I'm always dropping the tea. So if your glucose levels are normal, but your insulin is high, then they usually call that pre diabetes. I know it's crazy, right? Pre diabetes. But how I practice is extremely different. It's either you have it or you don't. So mainstream has made it a point to kind of keep us complacent. They water down healthcare a bit. So they give us the pre to make us feel like we're still kind of healthy, but then also we're not as healthy as we could be. But remember, it's either you have it or you don't. So yes, if you were to look at your blood work and you see that your glucose is normal, but your insulin is high, then yes, you have insulin resistance. Also, let's keep an eye out on that hemoglobin A1C. Okay? A1Cs higher than 5.6 usually means that organ damage is beginning. So it starts with the eyes, the kidneys, the heart, the liver. So I have seen people not get treated with a hemoglobin A1C from 5.7 to 7. And that's horrible. And many patients were told that if they lose weight, then everything will be fine, or they're told that their weight is the cause of everything. There usually needs to be a deeper dive with everything, because insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes, they are heavily linked. So if you have type 2 diabetes now, that means many, many moons ago, you had insulin resistance. Hopefully that made sense. So I have a question here. It says, what if your fasting insulin levels are normal? Can I still have insulin resistance? And the answer is yes. Your insulin levels could be normal during fasting periods, of course. But after about an hour or two of eating and you go ahead and check it, it can definitely elevate to an unhealthy level. Just a few months ago, I had a patient whose insulin skyrocketed to 225 after eating a donut. And that's scary. It skyrocketed to 225. Okay. For other people, a donut can increase your levels to 20 and 30. And remember earlier, we discussed that numbers that are less than 7 mean you're okay. So that donut can increase you to 20 or 30. My patient skyrocketed to 225. That means that they also had another underlying condition, which she did have, which was PCOS. Now let's talk about protein. Protein may cause it to bump up 1 point or maybe 2 points, but that's about it. Okay. So that is to answer your question, Megan. What if your fasting insulin levels are normal? Can you have it? Yes. Okay. But we check it after you've eaten. So we check your fasting insulin levels at least an hour or two after eating, but that's it. So now let's discuss some signs and symptoms of insulin resistance. So elevated fasting blood sugars. So what does that even mean? It means that even without eating, your blood sugars are through the roof and usually greater than 85 or greater than 125 and 150. Sugar cravings, always feeling hungry even after you've eaten. Signs of insulin resistance. The inability to lose weight or gaining weight. Insulin resistance. High cholesterol, high blood pressure, sleeping issues, insulin resistance. And now let's not forget hormonal imbalances. So remember, we discussed this a few weeks ago. We discussed how insulin is a bully. Insulin goes into your body. I'm trying to think of a good character, but your insulin just comes in and it just starts to take over everything. So you'll notice an increase in, let's say, your estradiol or estrogen levels. You may see an increase in testosterone. You may see a decrease with your, an increase in your thyroid stimulating hormone, which means that now you have hypothyroidism. So it is just bullying its way through your body and it's wreaking havoc. And going back to hormones, especially female hormones, remember that estradiol can be stored in fat. So when we start to see that fat or our weight gain around our girth, around our stomach, that usually means insulin resistance. So you need to get that checked out. So how can we improve insulin resistance? So it's a number of things that we can do. Here's what I want you all to do as I'm telling you all how to improve it. I want you all to be patient with yourselves because this is not a quick process. Okay? It's not a quick process and it's not easy, but it's doable. Okay? So, how can we improve insulin resistance? Decreasing the carbs to less than 25 grams per day. That is usually called a ketogenic lifestyle. It's not a diet, even though we hear about the keto diet all the time. It is a lifestyle. Okay? So we're not expecting you to decrease anything by tomorrow, but we are expecting you to do some sort of stepwise approach therapy. So think about your foods now. What are you eating now? How many carbs are you eating? Look through MyFitnessPal, look through Carb Manager, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you are consuming at least 200 to 300 plus carbs per day. So if you really want to get down to that 25 grams of carbs per day, start cutting it down by 25 every other week so that your body can get used to it. Okay? Fasting, that is another way to improve insulin resistance. However, you have to be careful and not just jump into it. You have to prepare. That is something you have to prepare for. One should just never start start fasting. You can get really sick. And sometimes fasting may not just be for you. Okay? So you must become fat adapted. So increasing the amount of good fats while decreasing your carbs, because now the goal is to burn the fat. Okay? The goal is to burn the fat, so fasting is good. Also, not eating before bedtime. So remember, we eat for fuel. So what are you fueling before bed? Why are we eating before bed? Does it even make sense? We shouldn't be eating before bed because that food is just going to sit, and that is why we have the issues that we do have, right? And now let's talk about the supplements, right? Because there's a lot. There's a lot. So first, let's talk about the prescription. We have metformin. And where did you guys hear metformin at? Guys should have heard it a few weeks ago during our first 2 episodes with Health Tea with Dr. B, the MP, with PCOS. Metformin is a prescription that a medical provider has to write for you to pick up from the pharmacy, and that will help with insulin resistance. But it also comes with some nasty, negative GI side effects like GI upset or even diarrhea. Okay, so some people opt for supplements such as berberine, which works just like metformin. That's why you should never have metformin and berberine together. Do not take those two together, okay? But what is berberine? It is the active compound in an ancient Chinese herb, and it's been used for thousands of years to treat diabetes. And evidence shows that berberine supplementation reduces triglycerides, insulin levels, hemoglobin A1C, and blood glucose levels. And it also has an anti-inflammatory and antioxidant property, making it a valuable addition to a metabolic syndrome treatment protocol. So berberine. So how much? Usually about 500 milligrams, 2 or 3 times per day. It really just depends on the bottle that you're getting. And usually for about 3 months. But there are some people who take it for long term. We have inositol, okay, which is a form of a B vitamin. This really does help. And it also helps with gestational diabetes. So that's all for my pregnant moms out there. So I do have an insulin resistance protocol on FullScript. So if you were go to bit.ly/health tea with Dr. B, you would actually be able to see our natural supplement dispensary where I have a whole bunch of protocols, whether it's for insulin resistance, PCOS, hair loss, gut issues, inflammation. What you're going to be looking for is the protocol strictly for insulin resistance. Okay. All right. So what else could help with insulin resistance? Semaglutide or tirzepatide. I know you guys have been hearing about this all over the place, especially all over the news, just everywhere, right? So semaglutide and tirzepatide, GLP-1 agonists, these are medications that help with the hemoglobin A1C, and they also help with insulin resistance. They are injectables that you take once per week. And a lot of people use it to help control their prediabetes, insulin resistance, and obesity. Okay. So I'm going to kind of shift a little bit to the program that I offer specifically for my patients and for those who are interested. So I offer 2 sides to my weight loss program. I have a basic weight loss program that includes 4 different programs or 4 different layouts. And then I also offer my functional weight loss program that encompasses, again, all 4 platforms. Why? Let me give you the tea. This is the tea right here. Okay. When people come to me, it is usually because they have struggled with their weight for years. They've been struggling with their weight. They have nowhere else to turn. They don't know what else to do because no matter what they do, they always maintain the same weight. They've tried phentermine. They've tried dieting. They tried keto. They tried everything. So what I do at my weight loss program, I do a deep dive, and it's for the functional program, by the way. I do a deep dive because now it's time to figure out why can't you lose weight? And we just discussed this earlier, the inability to lose weight. It's a risk factor and sometimes a sign of insulin resistance. When I go in and I do a deep dive, I usually find hypothyroidism. I usually find iron deficiencies. I usually find vitamin D deficiencies, vitamin B deficiencies, and then I find insulin resistance. I had one person who came in and, she didn't know what she wanted. She says, okay, I'll just do the functional program. Let me try it and see. And let me tell you what happened. Her insulin level, fasting, and she hadn't eaten in 12 hours. Her fasting insulin was 89. Her triglycerides were 150. Her abdominal girth was 52 inches. So that's around your stomach. Okay. Her hemoglobin A1C was 5.6. So mainstream, technically not pre-diabetic yet. Okay. But she definitely had insulin resistance. Um, she had abnormal abnormal FSH and LH. So she had PCOS. And I also checked another patient, and her estradiol was through the roof, you know? And here's the tea. Estradiol is stored in fat cells. So if I'm getting a lot of our perimenopausal, premenopausal patients, and they're carrying that weight in the middle, guess what's sitting there? Insulin, estradiol. That is what's sitting there. It's time to bust it. It's time to bust it. So this is why I address weight loss all around, because it's not about just losing weight. It's about really fixing the issue and figuring out why did we get here in the first place. Because the goal isn't to just get you down, because you might get back up. We need to figure out exactly why. Is it the insulin resistance? Is it PCOS? Right? So my perimenopausal and menopausal women, they love me. My PCOS patients, they love me because they experience things, hot flashes, night sweats, have fat around the stomach. So they come, they come because they're desperate. They want to feel good again, right? So someone asked, how long could you have had insulin resistance? You could have had insulin resistance literally since a child. Why? Let's think about the foods that are around. I can count on probably 20 hands how many fast food restaurants I fly by, and probably on one hand how many supermarkets are around. And then not only that, let's think about going into that supermarket and trying to find nutritious foods. How common is it to find something that is affordable? Fruits and vegetables are skyrocketing. Meat also skyrocketing. But you know what's going down? Processed foods. Foods that are packed with sodium, packed with sugar, packed with carbs. I can get that. I get that for a discount. Okay? So it is more common than you think. It is so common. Shoot, I had insulin resistance. I didn't even know it. So a few years ago, I had someone said, "Oh, please be my patient," And I said, "Okay." And I didn't know what the heck they were doing to me, right? I didn't know. But when I started paying attention to my labs, I said, "Oh my gosh, I have insulin resistance." But just this year, I found out that I also have PCOS. So it makes so much sense. So let me tell you what I did. I did low carb / keto. I did fasting. And I did it 2 different times. So let's discuss semaglutide first. And we're going to have another segment on semaglutide later. Okay. So last January 2022, I tried semaglutide because why not? I've always wanted to lose weight, and I wanted to see what I can do and how I can best serve my patients. So for the first month of taking semaglutide after knowing I had insulin resistance, I took the semaglutide for about a month, and I lost 22 pounds. I don't know what the heck happened, because I have never lost that much weight before in one sitting. I realized that my carb intake went down unintentionally because I didn't change my diet, but it went down. My hemoglobin A1C went from 5.6 to 5.2. My insulin levels went from maybe 22 to 6. So it was great. I even lost some pant sizes. So I went down to maybe a 36-inch waist. So I did really well. And then in October of 2022, I decided to do something else. I said, well, let me see if I can do low carb again / keto and fasting, but this time without the semaglutide. And I lost maybe 30 pounds in a month. Um, a lot of water, fruits and vegetables. I was eating, but I was also losing, but I was eating. My numbers were great, the best. I felt the best. However, that's when I realized that I had an aversion to sugar. My face cleared up, my PCOS was under control. And then, guess what happened? I started to delve back into the carbs, into the sugars, and I had my PCOS symptoms all over again. And I started to gain my weight. So you see, we have to kind of stay where we are, because legend has it, once you have type 2 diabetes or insulin resistance, it cannot be reversed. Well, here's the T. Yes, it can be reversed. You don't have to stay like this at all. We're staying like this by choice. Okay? So, how long can this process take as far as reversal? It can be 12 to 24 months. This is why you must give yourself grace and be patient. So, again, what is the T? Patience. In my experience, people start to lose weight quicker once their hormones are optimized. And there's a lot of people who say they optimize hormones, but you have to really go to someone who really knows hormones. Once you optimize hormones, and that includes your thyroid, and really get to the root cause of obesity and insulin resistance, then you are usually golden and good to go. Literally just last month, had one lady who came in and she was determined to lose weight. And we actually found out that she has fatty liver disease and PCOS. So there are so many things that's out there, so many things that could be going on. So the goal now is for you to advocate for yourself, okay? And there are so many resources out there like Dr. Joseph Kraft. So if you wanted to get more into the scientific data, Dr. Joseph Kraft is amazing, okay? Well, you all, it has been a pleasure letting you all know about insulin resistance. Okay. Insulin resistance is a thing. It doesn't mean you have diabetes. It means that you're on its way to having diabetes. So please take care of yourselves. I beg of you, please take care of yourselves. Okay. Again, I want to thank you all for attending and supporting Health Tea with Dr. B, the NP. Again, I want to say that our health brunch is airing on November 18th. I actually might air it live just so that you guys can kind of see what's been going on. But it is a very special event. Invitations will be coming out soon. And we're going to talk a lot of good things. There's going to be a lot of free things given out because, again, I want to reward you for taking charge of your health. Okay? And again, do not forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, please. Please share. Don't be stingy with the information. This is some good information here. I'm trying to tell you. Okay? And again, if you would like to speak to me, send me a DM or anything like that, visit me at bit.ly/health tea with Dr. B. Please do not be afraid. Don't be shy. I love when you guys ask questions, but share, because at the end of the day, we're in 2023. Health is wealth, and I want to make sure that you guys are having a best shot at the best lives that you can ever have. Okay? So again, everybody, I want you all to take care. If you need anything or have any questions, please do not be afraid to hit my DMs up. All right, guys. You guys take care. Bye.